Greetings and salutations, this is Kung Pao Enter the Minute, Minute 12. Opening frame. The Chosen One is holding two brown, blurry, furry creatures that we find out are in fact gophers. He asks the pair,
"I need gopher chucks!"
We cut to some fabric tearing, presuming the Chosen One's discarded shirt, as the gophers bite down on either end to reveal a new weapon. The sheer absurdity of this causes the attackers to slow down their swinging and ponder the scene in front of them. The Chosen One then starts to display his own nunchuck skills, the gophers biting for their very lives, which ends in a Bruce Lee-esque cry. After a few seconds of hesitation, the opponents resume their attack, but the Chosen One effortlessly beats them down with the gopher chucks. With their job accomplished, the Chosen One releases the gophers back into the wild. A strange growl alerts the Chosen One that Grillface is still at large, turning around to see that he has produced a metal triangle from inside his armor. An extreme close-up of the triangle that matches the extreme close-up of the Chosen One hints at the significance between the two, before we zoom in to the triangle emblem confirming his attacker's allegiance to Master Pain. Grillface drops the triangle on the ground, and a resulting smoke cloud threatens to envelop him so he can disappear into the night like Batman. Except it really doesn't do that much. We cut to a confused The Chosen One, thinking about just what happened, and then 5 of his downed attackers magically leap back into a fighting position. After a short yelling session, the 5 yell towards the Chosen One, who retaliates with a flurry of blows so fast we can only see a blur, and some potentially disturbing popping noises. The Chosen One is standing there, screaming with a weird look on his face. His hands slowly rise up to reveal 10 human eyeballs wedged onto the digits of his hand. We cut to the closing frame of a wide shot of the Chosen One, standing tall as his opponents clutch at their faces as they drop to the ground, still screaming into the next minute. We shall resume talking to my friend, Kaneda Cruz. Welcome again, Kaneda, to Kung Pao Enter the Minute. We're going to continue on with Minute 12. And
thank you for having me.
Not a problem. One thing I wanted to mention, modern day action films, they've kind of gotten this reputation for like the Christopher Nolan effect, I'll call it. It's the it's the fast editing, cutting, cut. Yeah.
Okay, so from my experience, when they do fast cutting and editing, usually means that they didn't really have a lot of time to create choreography.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way to mask kind of bits it takes of things. So you can do pick-up punches and kicks and all that sort of stuff, and you can put them anywhere.
Yeah.
Which is a really great trick if you don't have enough time to make your fight choreography super sound or fluid. So they would just literally break up each punch and kick, and it's just easy to kind of splice it in later.
Set up a shot, throw a punch.
Next one.
Shots done.
Next one. So yeah, so it's the easiest way to kind of get through fight choreography fast, and if your actor hasn't had enough practice, it's the easiest way to kind of master them, make them look really good. You know.
There's a great movie, I'm not sure if you've heard of it, it's called The Last Dragon.
Last Dragon.
It's a movie from the 90s, its full title is Berry Gordy's The Last Dragon. It was made in like the mid-80s. It was a predominantly African-American cast and crew, and it was about this guy called Leroy Green, who is this young African-American guy, who's a huge Bruce Lee fan, who's spent his whole life becoming a martial artist, and at the beginning of the movie, his master's saying, like, you know, you're a master now, but he's still unsure of himself, so he goes out into the world to try and find a new master. It's weird, because this guy is a really good fighter, but they also kind of try and cut around his fighting as well. So it's kind of weird that sometimes even a good fighter can actually have the director not...
Well, the thing is, the difference is that a fight choreographer can do blocking tapes, and you can show that to the director or the second unit director, and they can take notes from it, but it's not the final product. The problem with that is again, like a fight choreographer has no power over editing. You can make a damn fine, crisp, your crew could be the tightest crew and have the amazing one takes.
But if there's no coverage or the editor cuts it all out.
Yeah, it's up to the editor and the director to make that call. It's unfortunate, but that's how it works. So as a fight choreographer, we make blocking tapes, and whatever they choose to use, then you do that. Otherwise, what happens is you create your own team and your own crew, you make John Wick.
I was just about to say that, which is
All second unit directors, all Chris stunt crew, all with over 10 years experience.
Yeah,
and
I mean, once the directors also Keanu's...
stunt double.
Yeah, the stunt doubles even as far back as The Matrix.
That's right. He was the stunt double for Matrix.
And so that's the funny thing is, like, I think The Matrix is one of those... Probably now one of those all-time classics.
It brought kind of Asian kung fu cinema to a Western audience in a palatable manner. It defined a generation. It really did.
Because I could have said it wasn't. Was it just before, just after that? We also had like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which also brought a wider attention to the Eastern style of filmmaking.
But it was the reason why, because that's still Asian cinema.
Yeah.
What Matrix did was they were literally American directors.
They Americanized it.
And they got Wu Ping, Wu Ping
I was trying to
to
think of his
choreograph. And he's the godfather of fight choreography. His level of different types of styles and combinations.
I love his little cameo in, I think it's a Kung Fu Hustle, as the street vendor trying to teach everyone how martial arts.
I've seen him in so many things. In Drunken Master 2 is probably my favourite one of Wu Ping, and my all-time favourite martial artist.
I've heard
martial arts film, sorry.
I've heard nothing but
Drunken
praise
Master
for
2.
the guy from everyone he's ever worked with.
Wu Ping is amazing. He's just very creative. He runs a very tight ship. And he expects a huge level of dedication and just effort. If you're not putting in the effort, then you stay there forever until you get it right. So you might as well put in the effort early, so you can actually just move on to the next shot. Because he won't, it's something that I learned from Wu Ping.
Has he retired, or is he just not doing his?
He's still doing stuff.
I've not heard of his name in a while, but it's been a long time since I've kind of delved into this genre. So.
No, Wu Ping is still around, still doing his thing. A good example I think is Ip Man.
Oh God, I keep meaning to watch that.
So Wu Ping did
that's what's his face, Donnie
Yen, baby.
Yeah.
Not only is he a technical martial artist, but also
pieces, and I thought, wow, this is amazing. Mm-hmm. There's another movie I just saw recently, a few years ago. I'm just trying to... Oh, God, can't think of the damn name, but it's... The martial arts style is all pretty much like elbows and knees.
Ong Bak.
That's it. I caught, the last, 10 minutes of that. Oh, man.
Ong Bak also brought, traditional Muay Thai to the big screen, which is amazing.
That's so good.
Yeah, and giving it some old school stuff again.
Yeah.
It's a great homage to kind of some Jackie Chan films, but it definitely had its own style, and it was just wonderful to see. As a martial artist, I celebrate all forms of martial arts, and it's just wonderful to see it on the big screen or on the little screen. Just exposing it to different people is something that is very important, and that's how martial arts continues to exist, is people being inspired to pick it up and train.
Was it? God, it must be late 90s when Jackie Chan properly broke into the American market with
Rush Hour.
No, before that, I think it was Rumble in the Bronx.
Oh, Rumble in the Bronx, yes.
I wasn't keen on that film.
I enjoyed it, but I don't think the wider audience they enjoyed him. But I think it was Rush Hour that really
Rush Hour solidified him.
Him. In,
but it's if you only know Jackie Chan from Rush Hour, you
missed
have
out
never seen
whole lot.
Yes.
You have missed out on so much, Jackie.
I'll tell you my favourite Jackie Chan movie, and it's funny because it's not actually got that much martial arts. I'm trying to remember. The Australian release was called The Black Dragon, but I think it was called The Gangster and Mrs. Rose, or Miss Rose.
Oh, yeah.
I love that film.
Yeah.
And that's got some great comedy and some great action. The brawl in the tea house is still one of my favourite ever scenes. It's just so well done.
Yeah, there's just so many different styles. Jackie could kind of, like I said, go to old school to contemporary, very easy.
I've got a copy of one of the very first American movies he's ever made. And this is before Jackie learnt English, so he was completely dubbed. And it's just bad. It was called The Exterminator. I thought, oh, okay, this is going to be some, heart action. This is going to be awesome. But it was very American, and, Jackie just did not get to do anything.
Yeah, it was the same principle in Lethal Weapon 4 with Jet Li. If you knew Jet... if you knew Jet way back when, from early Shaolin years to Once Upon a Time in China, you knew that he was a very great performer.
I haven't seen a lot of the movies, but I've seen a lot of those fight scenes back in the day.
And when you see him in Lethal Weapon 4, you're like, oh, they did not use him as much as you could have.
He only gets like one really good moment, and I think that's
he only got one real good line, which is, in Hong Kong, you would be already dead.
Yes. That's not a good movie. It's a fun watch, it's not a good film.
Oh, yeah. But hey, it's great to see him in Lethal Weapon anyway, so it was fun.
Yeah, but the moment where he actually disarms both the guns at the same time and beats them up with the slides is... Mwah.
Welcome to fight choreography. This is what you come up with. You go, as a serious martial artist, how can I make this entertaining for people? And we go, what rules can we break now? So that's
a funny thing to say. I mean, because like it's funny how because there's like two styles. If I'm thinking about it, it's like there's really two styles in martial arts. Like in regards to cinema, there's like the ultra realistic. You know, it has to be physical, and then you get the wireframe, airy fairy. I love them both, to be honest. But it's funny how, like, you know, you say you break the limits, and even the physicality of what some people are able to do is like, how the hell did they do that?
A lot of it, like I said, it's all designed. So you're trained to kind of create a story within a story,
which is what any good choreography should be.
Yes. So it is one of those things where you want to break down a scene and you go, all right, cool, this is what happens in real life. And so you go, all right, now that's not going to be good for film. How do we make this more interesting for people to follow? Because again, if you see real fights and someone who knows about real fighting, they'll go, oh yeah, that was amazing. La, 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 la. But to a novice or to someone who has no idea about violence, they're just like, oh, they're just smashing each other up. Especially, a good example of this is like, especially grappling style martial arts, you know, jiu-jitsu especially, judo, things like that, valetudo. If to a regular person, you wouldn't know that they're actually doing technical moves because they're just kind of mashing each other up on the ground. And if you put that on film, it doesn't translate well for the story. If you're just doing it for a fight, like pay-per-view, absolutely, it's great. But for film, it doesn't translate, so we break that down.
This is funny you can say that, because this has kind of been what the problem with the current situation and wrestling, is that without the crowd, without that kind of energy from the crowd, or like things that would normally be hidden, like the prompting and stuff like that, or even just like the crowd reacting to certain things, and the actors, because the wrestlers aren't able to react to the audience and how the audience are reacting, and because like the screams of the audience, you can start to hear like the tells where they're talking to each other underneath the crowd hum. Is that so? They've been doing these things where they've been filming wrestling without the crowd, and it's almost like the curtain's been ripped away. And the reason I equate that is because it's performance, but the physicality is still has to be real. It
has to be very real. I always call like wrestling, especially for, you know, the WWE and all that sort of stuff, it's soap opera with violence.
Yes,
and and again, when you're doing things live, things can go wrong, have gone wrong. But I think what it is that people forget as well is that when you're a performer, a live action performer, you also have what we call a language in itself.
Yes.
So there's a certain taps on the shoulder, certain grunts you make. Like in fight choreography, we make certain sounds, and you kind of already know what's going to happen. Same with wrestling, you make certain taps. Body language will tell you what moves to do when, and what moves you're going to do next. So sometimes it's not.
So you're making sounds, which is funny because in this minute, this is the I call it the Bruce Lee-isms that usually you get in martial arts, or at least in parodies and stuff like that. Bruce Lee had that. He had a very good physicality. I mean, the dude was ripped, and he was like, damn.
A machine.
If you've actually seen this, you of course, I'm talking to the audience, but like, you've actually seen some of his real fight stuff. Oh my god, lovely. Oh god, I don't want to sound bad, but that type of stuff. You know, the Chosen One does this. I mean, it does lead in this minute. Unfortunately, it's not in this minute for a while, but the next minute leads to the classic, like, the scream that pops a vein.
Yeah, I think that's great. I love that moment where, because, you know, Bruce Lee did do those things, and it was iconic because it was his sounds. No one could take away those sounds from anyone else. You know what I mean? And that's what Ki-ai and striking with Ki-ai is all about.
I was just about to ask that. So it's funny because Bruce Lee kind of popularized these things. He also was probably the first person to ever popularized martial arts in America.
Steve popped a vein. So that should also would be a first.
But it's almost funny that nobody on screen really does any sounds. I mean, I can guess you can get away with it on screen, but
You just don't notice it.
Yes.
As a choreographer,
maybe,
I know.
Or maybe
when you watch it, you hear it.
The sound engineer might drop it
Yeah,
down.
you just drop it down, or you make your own. You know?
I think it wasn't until I started watching you guys more closely at Rebel Empire when I was going and just filming and stuff like that. I never noticed lead-in actions and movement as well as some of those tells. And then as I started to rewatch, like watching the same skit like 20 times, it's still great to see, but like, I can see when the lightsaber is about to pop up before the lightsaber comes back, type of thing.
That's it.
Once you kind of
it
destroys the illusion.
Exactly, and that's something like I always say to everyone who's ever learnt from me. I say, I'm going to remove that veil and I'm going to ruin action films for you.
Do you know what's even funnier? What I watched in Star Trek.
Star Trek love it.
Not TOS, like Deep Space Nine specifically, because they do a lot of the Klingon stuff. Watching that just recently, it's like, I can tell the lead-ins from
Don't get me started on some Batless stuff.
I mean, TOS has bad fight choreo because there's just no fight choreo. It's just Captain Kirk doing the double fist.
I love it. I love it.
The run and jump and the kick.
The beautiful double kicks. Look, there is a place for that movie in my special little heart. Because, like I said, it's like, he was so genuine about it. That's what I loved about it. It wasn't...
Did you... I think it might be one of Shatner's autobiographies. Apparently, he got into a real-world fight one time. This is back, I think, like about a few years after original series ended. And he started to do the run-up, to do the double kick to someone's back. And then he just went, oh my god, this isn't going to work. That was just a stunt. I'm just going to fall on the ground and hurt myself. So he didn't do it.
Exactly right. There's a lot of setup, like I said, by design. It's a huge difference between fight choreography and fighting.
I kind of appreciate sometimes bad choreography just for fun.
Okay, so I'm one of those people where I'm a perfectionist by nature, but I love also happy accidents, and I also love absolutely terrible fight choreography. Because I think, like I said, it's like, when it's trash-tastic, it's good.
Yes.
You know? If you're just going for broke, but you know it's such a really crap move, but you're acting your little heart out, make it happen. You know, I love it.
That's why I didn't bring you on here to criticize the fighting techniques, because, I mean, it's just a dumb, funny movie. Except, like, there is some fighting later on in this movie, which is between Master Tang and Master Pain.
Yeah.
Or by that point, I think he was referred to as the Evil Betty.
Yeah, Evil Betty.
And those are actually some really good fights.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's all by design, it's all practiced and rehearsed, and, you know, and if you notice, there's not many cutaways from that little section.
Yeah.
You know, it's action by design, and
I just love a good fight choreo. I'm not expecting perfection, but sometimes it's just like,
I believe in what makes good fight choreography is not the technicality, but your intensity and your intention, and your character is important. That is such a good thing, because I've seen some really technical fight choreography, but there's no heart in it, and you're like, that could have been so much better. Even if they just pulled it back a bit and just showed some real good character. One of the biggest things I always say to people is that in a good fight choreography, you know, you're watching the film, and then the action happens. All of a sudden, it's not the character that's doing the action, it's the actor doing the action. And then it cuts to the character back to normal, and you're like, what? So, you know, don't do that. You know, okay? Do what the character would do.
Yeah.
You know, if the character makes a mistake, then make the character do the mistake. You know, don't flip to your actor self. No, we don't want that. Don't break the illusion.
It's funny you say, because I'm thinking back to The Matrix, and like it's almost part of the conceit is that Keanu learns kung fu in seconds.
Oh God, I wish I had that.
Yes.
It would save me so much. But the thing about that
it still works though.
It's great. Like, I love that part where he's like, I know kung fu, and all of a sudden he can like smash through bricks and stuff. But I'm glad he is the chosen one in that aspect, because like, if in real life, if I gave you all my knowledge of kung fu to your brain, and then alright, you hit that brick with your lovely soft delicate hands, it's gonna smash.
I have some calluses from all the cuts and but I don't have the intense training on my knuckles.
Exactly. exactly. So you like how many Brits can go?
Yeah,
can you go
that's
through?
again, that's the conceit of the Matrix.
Yeah.
This is why I kind of wish there was a scene in the Matrix or in the Matrix sequels where like two guys got into a fight outside of the Matrix and they're just like the worst fighters ever, but inside the Matrix they're like
They're the best. Yeah,
they're the best
absolutely.
because they have this knowledge, but they just don't have a physicality.
Well, that's the always thing, you know, like, it's taken me a long time to learn, over 30 years to learn different styles of martial arts and, you know, learning from some amazing, incredible human beings. And it's just one of those things where you do have to eventually go out to the real world and, you know, train your physical self, not just your mind.
So just quickly touching on that, because this is just a pet thing of mine. I like to think of what I do when it comes to building stuff. While there's skills revolving, like say, how to cut a piece of wood, how to cut, but the essential mindset is almost exactly the same. There's no difference between mentally constructing a box out of wood and constructing a dress out of cloth. It's still a mindset of attach thing to other thing and how you do that. There's specific knowledge within that, but the actual mindset is transferable. How does that react in regards to the martial arts? Is there a mindset you learn as you go along?
Okay, so...
how much of that is not necessarily reacting to something else, but...
we're going to get really deep for a second.
I
here.
don't mind.
So,
I love talking about things like this.
So the thing about, like, people who've been studying martial arts a long time, there is no difference between martial arts and the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So your life is martial arts. Everything you do is martial arts. So everything you're trying to do is trying to perfect a certain movement. So for example,
That's
for me,
awesome.
I love to cook. So obviously knives are involved.
So when you chop up the onions, you're using your hand.
I prepare myself. I actually just don't even. I just stare at the onion and it just shatters.
Yes.
I'm at that
I'm
point
sorry.
now.
Yeah, I forgot.
Right, yeah.
I have had yours cutting it, and it's shattering.
That's right. Just gone. It's a great way to mince garlic. Stare at it. But no, martial arts, long-term martial arts, that's what you do. You're dedicating your life. So there's a lot of different things that involve martial arts. Not just the physical side of things, punching, kicking, all that sort of stuff. That's bare bones basics. Yeah. What you're looking for is to apply that to the real world. How can you apply yourself in a more positive manner that affects not only yourself but the community you're in? Are you enriching other people's lives and, you know, not just taking?
Yeah.
It's all those things that make martial arts the way it is. Because, again, the more you train in martial arts, you realise actually how less violent you become. Because you know exactly what to do.
It's funny because, like, if you think about it, the only evil martial artists only exist in the movies. If you think about it,
well, the thing is, like, okay, so
your Cobra Kai does not exist in real world.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
I know. What I'm saying is that those who are still stuck on that base level of violence, that's where they will stay, and they will not progress, and they will not last long in the world of martial artists. If you live a life so full of violence, as you always know, there's that saying, you know, there's always a bigger fish. There's always someone younger, bigger, better, and stronger than you. So you're going to meet that person, or you're going to burn yourself out.
Do you think it's also a good conduit for that type of channeling that type of aggression and violence into something more positive as well?
Like I said, the longer you study violence, the less violent you become, because after a while you're refining what you already know, so it takes you very little energy to deal with things, first of all. But
I have to say, and also I'm guessing with a great power comes some great responsibility.
And that's what it is, because again, you know, you're not going to be around very long, so it's up to you to make the best of it.
That is a great philosophy, and I love it.
Yeah, because and that's what it is that martial arts, if you're stuck at the violent level, if you think that's the base, if that's the pinnacle of just being the best, you're going to find yourself that your world's going to come crashing down. But if you dedicate yourself to martial arts in all aspects of your life, you're going to understand how much it will enrich you and how amazing it affects other people.
It's funny when I'm just hearing that. I 100% agree. I mean, I'm not a martial artist. I've tried it. I'm sorry. I don't have that. I'm not sure I told you this, but the first time I had to throw a punch at somebody at one of the Rebel Empires, it felt like the most visceral, not me thing I've ever done. I did not like it whatsoever. It was just not that kind of thing. I got into fights when I was a kid. Usually when someone tried to bully me, and the only kind of reaction was hitting back. I'm totally a pacifist. But I want to get back to Kung Pao just quickly, because it's funny, because you look at the story, the Chosen One isn't learning to fight to be the best. And the contextual is he learned to fight to survive. Whereas Betty, on the other hand, is the character who wants all the power.
Exactly.
And is using that power to exert the violence onto other people. And the only reason he's come into conflict with the Chosen One is because he identified, or specifically, spoilers, the French aliens identified the potential threat of Tungi. So it's funny you should say that. It's like, now I think about it going back into the movie, is that the Chosen One isn't a particularly violent character. He has to do violence, but he's not enacting violence. He's half the time he's being self-defense. I think the only time he actually sets up a confrontation is when it's regarding Master Payne. Like, he chases him down at the waterfall, and even then he gets his ass
because he makes an emotional judgment, and
yes,
you know.
And the other time is then when he finally figures out how to defeat Evil Betty, is when he actually perpetuates violence. But even then, half of that fight is self-defense. You know, he knows he can't take out Betty, so he's got to fight long enough till he gets his opening. And that's it. I mean, when he tries to fight, he's kind of... another paralyzer!
Yeah, it's just, I love the fact that here you're practicing how to grab someone's nipple nuts. And you're
triangular nipple nuts.
And and just, getting that severe hand cramp. I can understand that. But you're dedicating yourself, and that's the thing, as a martial artist, you're dedicating yourself to destroying your body to be better. And that's how it works.
Literally do that.
Because that's what you ask any good martial artist, they have destroyed their body to get good.
I remember the Swan film. Oh, jeez, I haven't seen it in over 20 years, and it's this guy who's like beats his hands up until they're like literally black and numb. And like it's just like the scene where he's like got his hand in a bucket. He puts his hand in like a bucket of sand, and he's just wailing on it with a rock and all sorts of stuff.
There's so many montages, so many different ways to ruin your hands.
Until his hands are like stone, and that's when when he's just chopping things up, they just break, and like it's that like almost Dragon Ball Z mastery. Like, I have just destroyed one part of my body, so it's indestructible.
Exactly, and then he's one kick in the nuts and he's down. But,
pretty much.
Yeah, but it's one of those things. Yeah, like there is a bit of pain to get over, and there's a lot of things that you condition in your body, just depending on your martial arts, obviously. Yeah. But you do have to, physically get over those hurdles.
I remember that being one of the key words you used to
conditioning. It is definitely a tagline of mine. I use it every day.
So do you pour salt on people's wounds? Do you then break thermometers on people's hands?
They do it themselves. Go do the thing. And they're like, are you sure there's salt in this open wound? Is gonna... Yes! They do it themselves.
What people have learnt in COVID is hand sanitizer very good for finding open wounds on hands.
Oh boy, and cat owners. Cat owners.
Yeah.
Yes, you put hand sanitizer after patting a cat. Oh, spicy.
What?
Conditioning.
Where does Clorox come from?
Exactly. I see it actually a lot. I work the door at JB Hi-Fi from time to time, and you see them put their hand sanitizer on. You see the ones who've had open wounds, they just do this little hand dance, little twinkle hands, little sparkle fingers, jazz hands. And you're like, there's a cat owner or a builder.
See, we're currently in your theatre room.
Yes.
And it's literally, and I'm making no joke, wall-to-wall DVDs. So I guess that's the one advantage of being a JB Hi-Fi.
It is. This is after the culling. I have to cull every time, but I do
cull myself.
Yeah, I do try and keep the ones that are either that inspire me. So a lot of the DVDs that you see around us is what inspires me or what interests me in different ways, both not just action films, but in dramatical sense or technical sense. There's a lot of things like that
I would use the term eclectic, but at the same time, that's kind of like me. I like genres. Probably say the only things I don't particularly care for as a movie is like romantic comedy is like the one genre I just can't get into. So I have like I think I have like 2 rom-coms.
The Notebook.
No, rom-coms. not rom. I don't like rom either. But like I've got like Love Actually and Shaun of the Dead, so the two manliest rom-coms.
Yeah, no, I'll watch anything once, and that's something for me at least. But I will have my favorites, obviously. Like,
I'll have to get you a copy of The Last Dragon. You'll love it.
So there's a few where I've had to track down, and some of the old school stuff. But then,
I used to miss when like SBS used to occasionally just would have like some weird obscure movie on like a Saturday night.
Oh,
like
I miss those days, but like SBS On Demand have got them now.
Have they? I haven't checked.
Do it. Yeah, they do that sort of stuff. Sometimes they do the Jackie Chan marathon.
That's kind of what I miss from like the old video store days, like the old rentals, where it's just like go rent out 10 VHSs for a week and you just devour them because you had nothing else to watch. So, you could try one a day, but sometimes you get like that one movie you just watch like 10 times and not watch the other 6.
Yeah, it's pretty true. I have my VHSs that were loved to death before it died, and then I just buy it on DVD.
Funny enough, I used to rent out Weird Al Yankovic's UHS so many times. I just eventually went to the because you couldn't buy that on retail. So I literally went to them one day and went, "Shall I just buy this off you?" And they sold it to me. I rented that many times.
Yeah. The good old videotapes. Oh boy,
I kind of miss them. I really do miss them.
Yeah, I have my original videotapes of certain things, for sure. I think just by looking, I have like the original Matrix on VHS right there.
Oh, I think I might have bought that on. I know I got it on DVD.
And it was the big fat pack too. It wasn't like the slim line. It was like the big chunky thing. But yeah, I think this was at the same time. Like this film was at 2001.
Yeah, 2001, 2002 release, something like that. But it was made in like the late 90s. Or it was made around about the same time as the Matrix. That's why there is the Matrix cow in there.
Yeah,
it's funny. Occasionally, I'll still see that fight scene pop up randomly on social media. Yeah. Oh my god, check out this weird scene.
Yeah, and the next generation of people have no idea what it's about.
Yeah.
And we're just having a little chuckle to ourselves.
It's funny because I hear a lot of people go like, oh my god, that cow looks so fake. It's like, yeah, this was like a low budget film, man. They probably spent 10 of the $17 million on that cow.
Oh boy. Yeah, well, at that stage of the game,
that was quite advanced, for CGI back then. I mean, you got to remember, while this was being made, like Phantom Menace was being made, that was big. Like the Matrix. It's funny how people have kind of watched that so many times. They're seeing how kind of shoddy some of that stuff was. Like the biggest gripe is like when Neo is doing the bullet dodge, and all of a sudden his guns disappear off the floor.
Yeah,
all those gaffes.
Yeah. It's just a continuity kind of error. Yeah. You could easily say, fix it in post.
You could digitally put it in. Or even like the slides on the guns in the slow-mo scene. But at the same time, that was shot so fast, they couldn't have shot more than once.
Exactly.
So it's like,
And it's fine. Like, if you're looking on the floor instead of, like, what's actually going on...
this is usually people who've watched this movie for, like, 100,000 times.
Exactly. And that's with any movie. You will always have some sort of weird thing that will happen in film. There's no such thing as a perfect film. Ones. That's a film made with love. That's the reason why I have no problem watching bad films as well as amazingly brilliant films. Is purely because, is it A, made with love, B... Is it not? And you can always tell a crappy movie. A crappy movie is when it's not made with love and it's just,
Here's the strange thing.
No heart in it.
This is why I think The Room... Okay, The Room is terrible. It is legitimately terrible film.
I love it.
No, it is a legitimately terrible film.
It is, technically and dramatically. And
This has been a pet peeve of mine for a while. When I say something is a terrible film, I'm usually saying it as an objective thing on the media, but I love it. I have a subjective view and an objective view. It is a terrible film, but I love it. I think that's a completely valid sentiment across the board. But the reason why I think The Room is better than a lot of some of these one-day Hollywood films is that it is completely sincere.
It is.
It is a sincere film. That was one man's vision, however twisted and bad and just completely... What the hell is this?
He made it happen. That's the thing you have to understand, is that there's a lot of good ideas that get created, but some people just don't follow it through. Yeah. And some of the people who kind of really pull it out or hate it, most of them have not put out their love of work. I kind of would rather watch a Tommy
Wiseau film than a Zack Snyder film, because at least I know it's not going to be cynical. I think Tommy Wiseau post The Room has kind of tried to retroactively like go, oh no, it's a dark comedy. No, you made a serious film.
No, you made a real.
It's just very funny.
No, embrace it, and he has. I mean,
He has
you know,
embraced it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, and he still gets royalties from it. So you
Yeah.
know, who's laughing now?
I've bought the Blu-ray.
Oh my goodness!
I bought it from Amazon because I just couldn't bear the idea of buying it direct from Tommy and potentially receiving a pair of underwear.
Ooh!
I'm not joking. He's got his own Wiseau brand of underwear.
Oh lordy!
And he usually packed it in.
Is it like above the waist?
I think it's a trunk.
Oh, right. So it's not terrible.
No, but it's like one of those ones where like, the waistband is like an inch and a half big. Like
Yeah, old school.
yeah, and it's just like, I think it's... I can't remember if it's Tommy or Wiseau across the entire
Oh my
band.
gosh.
It's wow.
Bring it on. I love it. Entrepreneurship, there you go. That's how you make some money.
Well, did Tommy Wiseau make money off the Room? I don't know.
He has.
I mean,
he has.
considering how much he spent, he's made money.
He's definitely made money. And again, you know, to this day, people still watch it. So it's saying something.
I still go to the Luna Cinemas
Exactly.
and watch it.
So
Well, here's the funny thing. They did a screening just after one of the restrictions got down so they could actually have a cinema screening. One of the only restrictions they did do is that you could have spoons, but you couldn't throw them.
Oh.
So, funny thing is, they didn't know how to react to that. So there's like, just wave the spoons in the air. And I just found so stupid. But what people started doing was started clicking them together as the spoon went along. So the spoon went, spoons in ears. Click, 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 click. I love that.
Yeah. Because I think they got tired of things getting broken. Because those screens are not cheap.
It's just because of COVID.
Oh, right.
They didn't want to...
When was the last one? Was it during COVID time?
It was about 2 months ago. So the
geez.
restrictions had got...
right.
This came lower enough so they could have a screening. But there's still no new movies coming out, so they're doing a lot of oldie stuff. Like last month they did Cats Interactive. Speaking of utterly cynical movies that I can't fucking stand, Cats was horrendous. I could not stand that.
I haven't gotten to see it yet.
I know it's a bad film. I knew it was a bad film, but I thought it was going to be a bad film I can enjoy.
Bring on the butthole cut.
Yeah, if they had the butthole cut, I'd rewatch it.
Yeah. See? Ah!
It might actually be fun, but no,
it's
not even that good.
HBO, talk to HBO about it because they'll bring it back.
I got so angry. I got so angry watching that film. I just was like, no, it's just not good.
For me, I think the only one that got me kind of really annoyed was King of Fighters.
Oh.
And it was based off the King of Fighters.
I was going to say,
computer
is that
game.
a video game movie of King of Fighters?
Exactly.
Oh, wow, that's got to be horrible.
And it was horrendous. It was so terrible. And yeah, it wasn't very good. It didn't stay true to King of Fighters one single bit. They just took the name.
Yeah.
And the rest was just...
Was that a Hollywood film?
Yeah, it was a Hollywood film, King of Fighters.
Oh, God, was that a Namco... I'm just trying to remember.
No, SNK.
SNK, that's
SNK,
it. So
yeah.
I didn't think that was even big outside of, like...
That's right. So it was, like, completely unknown,
Why?
but, like, for it to have its own movie. And the movie was just so... Like I said, like, it was just horrendous. The fight choreography was terrible. Oh. The costumes were terrible.
I've got to tell you this.
It was just not fun. And too many Dutch angles.
I love Dutch
way
angles,
too many.
But
no,
way
like,
too many.
You gotta have a crook neck, like,
Yeah.
and then you, like, every time you watch it, it's just like...
Here's the best experience I've ever had of an entire cinema turning against a film. This is when I was in Malaysia, so this is about 5 years ago. I got invited to see the premiere screening of Attack on Titan. I've never watched the single cartoon. I know the manga. I've not watched the anime. I've not read the manga. I have zero background knowledge except there's some large fleshy guys. That's it. I don't even know what the human's doing. I have zero context. Mm-hmm. I'm watching this movie going, fuck me, this is bad. I'm there going, oh god, this is really, really bad. And the audience aren't going, well, there's no like, yay! So I'm there going, is this just me that thinks this is really, really bad? We got out the cinema and then like, I was in a cinema full of people. I think me and maybe 3 other people who just come from work were not in the costume. These were dedicated fans. The look on everyone's face was just pure fury and misery. Yeah. They hated that film. And I spent a good half an hour listening to just a bunch of fans ripping that movie to shreds. And I said, I've never watched it. And they'll like look at me like, oh no, you didn't like the film. And it's like, man, that movie was fucking terrible. I could tell you objectively, without reference, that movie was bad.
Yeah. For me, that one was for Avatar. M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh, I still haven't seen The Last Airbender. I've never watched I watched one episode of Avatar once when I was in America. All I know is that they were on a ship and weird stuff happened. I have no memories. I need to go and watch that, but I'm tempted to not watch the series until I watch this Shyamalan movie, just so I can go, yeah, this movie sucks without context.
Okay, so
I've seen reviews.
If you had no idea what it was based off, it stands as a film, as a good action martial arts film, and you have no idea what it's about. It's like, oh yeah, that's alright, it's pretty good. But as a fan or someone who who has enjoyed the series,
I've not seen a single person that has praised that film.
It's sad. It was very typecasted and very
didn't
it's
they
one
whitewash like half the characters?
It's more complicated than that.
Because isn't
typecast?
Because isn't the brother and the sister, they're like Eskimo adjacent? I don't know what the actual
Inuit
in regards to what that universe is, but they're Inuit type indigenous characters, and they're like white people.
Yeah,
and isn't Aang also kind of not?
Aang is pale.
Yeah.
But no, it's just more like we say Aang, but in the entire film he's called Aang. Which already automatically annoyed like the entire people in the cinema where I was watching it. It was just oh boy,
oh wow,
yeah. But no, look, it is what it is. Like I said, there's a lot of films like that. Like I said, if you're not a fan and you watch that film, you'd be fine with that. If you are a fan and you watch that film, you will not be fine.
I've seen enough analysis where I'm looking at the cinematography going, no, this looks like it's going to be bad to watch.
Yeah, no, nothing beats King of Fighters for me. That's the pits.
You know what I haven't had a chance to watch in the bad video game to movie genre? Double Dragon.
Oh, Mark Dacascos!
I think I might have it on VHS somewhere, but it was just one of those ones that's always been hard to get.
Dude, I got it right here.
Yeah, you probably
got it here.
Double Dragon, it has a plot, yes, but how are you going to make a movie out of that?
I thought it was cheesy. It's definitely a product of its time.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's not. It wasn't meant to be cerebral to begin with.
No.
But
the only thing I know about it is that Alyssa Milano's in it. That's the only thing I know about the entire film.
Mark Dacascos, man. Obviously, most recently he played Zero in John Wick 3. The bald guy. He was the main bad guy. He was also a fan.
Oh, okay.
So in John Wick 3,
I'll
Mark
be honest,
Dacascos is in there.
I hate to admit this. I love the John Wick films. I didn't care for 3. I thought the action scenes were really good.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the plot was okay. As most people go like, "Oh yes, it's an action film. Why do you care about the plot?" Actually, John Wick has got some really good plot and like really good themes. But the entire story arc of John Wick's character is he goes on this journey and ends up exactly where he was before. Like the entire movie was just an excuse. He didn't grow as a person. He just lost a finger. I know. I'm just oversimplifying it. I just expected something a bit more.
Oh, they just took the Assassin's Creed route.
And I just thought, so, what a waste of a film. But I'm looking forward to number 4 because 4 is what I think this 3 should have been. There should be a war. Because they look like they're setting up for war, and then there's no war, and it's just like...
Yeah, no, I have to completely disagree.
I know, that's fine. I just didn't enjoy... I enjoyed the first 2 a lot more. The action stuff, loved it. It's a well-made film. I just found it a little bit too zero-calorie. That's probably the best way to describe it.
Yeah, no, I'm the other way around.
Okay. Yeah,
I enjoyed it. It did have very much Assassin's Creed vibes.
Here's the funny thing. I've only ever played Assassin's Creed once or twice, and I couldn't get into it. And I've always wanted to watch the movie because I heard it's terrible.
But yeah, so it has these Assassin's Creed vibes.
Okay.
And so you kind of go, well, there you go. There's that missing finger, just like Ezio. But no, it was fine for him to kind of travel and find himself and to redeem himself from that situation to get to. He had to, in other words, jump through the red hoop.
I think it was the problem is that third act. I think the third act betrays the character growth throughout it. That third act, while the construction, the fight scenes and all that were really good. It's pretty much Bruce Lee, that end fight scene in the Hall of Mirrors. It's pretty much like Enter the Dragon.
Yep, Enter the Dragon.
I love all that stuff, but I just thought plot-wise, I was just like, you could have done a bit more with that.
I don't think they needed to overly expand it in number 3.
No, I think
so-
3 was a setup for 4. That's
Exactly.
my ultimate, that was the
And you know
ultimate
it.
problem, is that there was no arc in 3. They could have just jumped straight to 4.
I think it was used to kind of introduce new characters,
Yeah.
as well as, again, like, expanding
We
the
could-
world of John Wick.
I've never been one to say this, but I could have actually done with a bit more Halle Berry in the film. I thought she was really good in that.
She trained really hard for that role, and
Yeah.
it showed on the screen. You know, the dogs also trained.
Yes!
really hard
They were so
for them.
good!
So I enjoyed every aspect of it, and again,
Okay.
you know, with Halle, I think she did a bang up job. A lot of these people are, are in incredible shape, and they do
Oh,
the
God.
John Wick training. You're going to go through a lot, and that's the difference between.
How terrible is that when I think of these? Some of these people are older than I am and in better shape than I'll ever be in my entire life.
You got to keep at it. That's the maintenance.
I also kind of need the Hollywood budget to
Yeah. Oh, that's what they all
dedicated
say.
trainer, dedicated cooker, dedicated cleaner.
It's true, but there's a lot of people out there who don't have that,
I know.
and they still manage to do it.
I just want the money. I
That's
don't
it.
want the training. I just want
Wouldn't
the
we
money.
all want the money? Absolutely, yes. Some things make. That's the difference, Sometimes money does make things easier, but you still have to do the hard work at the end of the day. And it's a good example. This is actually Ben Affleck. When he was training for Batman,
Yeah.
I have not seen him turn himself into a more of a machine than I saw him in Batman.
Well, do you know the funny thing with?
I was very, very impressed.
Yeah, I like how jacked he got. That sounds very bad. I love the
hard
physicality
work.
that Affleck brought into that, and they enhanced it with the muscles because they always do with the muscle suits. Same with Cabell. These guys are jacked, and then they just add all that extra muscle in with those suits. But I do like the physicality. The irony is that Christian Bale for Batman Begins got almost as jacked as, or if not more jacked than what Ben Affleck was in Batman vs Superman.
Yeah, he was a machine as well. Yeah,
But to the point where Nolan didn't like him being that. He had like almost perfect physicality to Bruce Wayne in the comic books, like literally 1-to-1. So they had to muscle reduce him down because Christopher Nolan didn't like him being overly muscled. So he had to be jacked up enough
to fit in the suit, first of all.
Well, I think this is before they made the suit, and then they had to shrink him down because they didn't want him too jacked. So it's kind of funny when you think about it like that way.
It's interesting because, again, I'd have to find out that, but like...
And Bale was also insane enough to go from jacked Batman to skinny machinist back to jacked Batman.
Yeah, that's not good for you.
Yeah.
But that's dedication. And again, kudos to dedication, but
Yeah.
it is a huge transformation going from that size to the complete opposite.
Yeah.
But no, I thought it was interesting. But again, it comes to dedication, and I think let's go back to Kung Pao. The level of dedication.
Steve
he put
Odekert
in.
got jacked for the movie.
He did really well. His body was looking tight,
Yeah. He probably doesn't look like that now, but it's been 20 years.
But you never know.
They did announce the sequel 5 years ago.
Yes.
Last rumor I heard is that they were going to try and do a western as the sequel and move away from the martial arts genre and do a western. So I don't know if it's still going to be continuity, like he's still going to be the chosen one. Mm-hmm. I'm just aching for.
Could it be like the whole kind of David Carradine kind of?
Yeah, maybe.
Kung Fu going into the Western world. Maybe that was my speculation.
I don't know. That's the only bit of news now. It's from about 2 years ago, so I don't know if he's picked a movie or not. If he wants to do, so hopefully that'll start being done soon. But I'm hoping it's something in the exact same style. There's something that's very tongue in cheek, very absurd, and cutting back and forth between like new because this is.
Do you think that
Almost 50% new footage as well.
Well, parody movies will always have a very special part in our kind of cinema world.
Yeah.
But lately there hasn't really been
A good one.
I'd
I'd say probably the last good parody film was maybe Scary Movie.
Scary Movie, exactly. So it's been quite some time.
Everything else has been internet meme-y or like
very memey.
We're just going to parody a film. Like I like Not Another Teen Movie. It's not a good film, but I really enjoy that film.
I enjoy it. It had a killer soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, I enjoy those moments where it takes one.
It also
genre.
had Chris Evans with the banana up his butt.
Yeah. I will will never forget that image.
What I love is that he's got the
boy.
exact same hairdo in Knives Out.
Oh no. He
Have
does too.
Both technically jerks.
Yeah, minus one banana.
Well, that we know of. This is Chris Evans.
I love. That's another thing about Chris Evans. I love the fact that he can go from very serious roles to just again comedic roles that have he has no real ego. Like I said in a previous podcast, comedy should have no ego. It should really just be going for broke every time.
Go for the laugh. You know?
Absolutely, go for the jugular.
Carpe Joculum.
Yes. Absolutely.
Which is a book by Terry Pratchett.
That's it.
About vampires. That's
it.
I think I'm trying to spend, but thank you very much for joining me.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
This has been absolutely delightful. I have no idea how long we've been recording for.
Yes, we'll fix that in post.
I bought some podcasting juice over there. I've not took a single swig of it. So if my voice has gone to shit, it's that.
Oh no, it's good. No, it's good. It's good to have a
as
laugh.
always, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you,
much
Simon.
Thank you very much for, especially my first guest on my ridiculous podcast. So force all the people at Rebel Empire to listen to it.
Yes.
This is part of your training. You've got to enjoy this jackass.
Listen to my absurd callings out. Go. It's conditioning.
It's ear conditioning.
Ear conditioning. Yes. Very much so.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you. Go watch the film if you haven't.
Yeah.
Go.
Well, we're on minute... Well, at this stage, we're on minute 12, so we're about 10... so this is only like a 78-minute film, so it's like at least 10% through the movie already.
That was the other thing as well. It hit that magic marker. Any more than that would have been too much.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's the other thing as well.
This movie was edited to death, and that just had to do it. There was a couple of deleted scenes, but I'm so glad they didn't use them. It would have dragged on.
Exactly.
So, yeah. And speaking of things not dragging on, I'm going to stop this.
All right, go.
Bye.
Press stop. Bye.
Once again, thank you, Kaneda, for just being an absolute champ and coming on this dumb little podcast. I look forward to potentially talking to you again sometime soon, perhaps when the world stops exploding. But for now, please go check out Rebel Empire workshops. I'll have some links down below. Yeah, once again, thank you very much, Kaneda. So during the commentary of this minute, Steve Odekirk explains the Gopher Chucks.
Gopher Chucks was, again, one of these things that just sort of popped into my head. I thought it'd be kind of cool to do sort of a straight nunchuck thing. Now, I learned how to do this, by the way.
Yeah, that isn't just a visual effects where we put your head on somebody's body. You did.
Sort of got the old nunchucks down.
You
I practically killed myself
honestly,
a few times.
You trained for 6 months before
I
this
don't know,
movie?
something like
Something
that.
like 6 to 8 months.
So in this minute, we find out what exactly the Chosen One was saying to the Gophers. I don't know, it just feels undecipherable. It sounds like he was supposed to be saying something else, but it got cut down because it seems to cut out halfway through. You'll listen.
Mine depends. We're starting to fill it quick.
And speaking of which, the only part of the dialogue in the scene, here is the audiobook.
Gophers, help me.
So that is it for this minute. I will once again thank Kaneda for his kind generosity, for being a part of this madcap experience and giving himself and his time over to the sheer lunacy. I hope you find it somewhat informative, or at least very interesting. Please go check out Kaneda and Rebel Empire workshops. I will have links down in the description. So please like, share, comment, subscribe, all that usual stuff. Go check out Rebel Empire. Come check my stuff out. All the Rebel Empire guys, come check my stuff out. Please subscribe, do all that stuff. I still have Ko-fi and Patreon. I'm probably not going to spruik that until I get more of an audience, but it's there. You want to chuck me a couple of bucks, it's there. I'm not going to twist your arm. I'm not going to poke your eyeballs out with my fingers and yet somehow have the irises at the tips, which is technically physically impossible. But this absurd film makes it possible. Once again, thank you for listening. I hope you managed to get through all this, to hear this to the end. It was a long one. You get someone like Kaneda, you just gotta let him go. Just rev him up and let him go. Bask in his magnificence. Once again, thank you, Kaneda, and thank you all. keep well in this crazy time, and I'll see you next time.